Welcome to Side Alpha Leadership, a podcast where leaders can share their experiences and discuss what leadership means to them. I'm your host, David Polikoff. Hello, and welcome to this month's edition of Side Alpha Leadership. I'm your host, David Polikoff. I'm going to do things a little differently this time. This is December 3rd, to be exact, of 2021. So this is the last podcast of 2021. And instead of having a guest, I'm just going to basically reflect back on the year, things that have been going on with me, and stuff that I've learned along the way, maybe pass on something. Hopefully you'll get something out of it. So again, like I said, something different. I'm just going to kind of freeform. I don't even have a script. So without, as I usually say, rambling on, we'll get right into it. So obviously the big thing that happened in the fire service and with all frontline workers was the pandemic, which started back in, it started back in 2020. We lived through it in its entirety of 2021. And I remember with a lot of, my guys and gals that were in my department, being forward facing, they were on the front lines with this day in and day out, and I have to say that they performed admirably. The work that they did, it was basically they rushed into harm's way every time the tones went off for a medical call. We do that on day in and day out, but knowing that every call we ran was a potential COVID case. The guys handled themselves above par. I couldn't have expected anything less from my guys and gals running these calls. So, my hat's off to them, and they dealt with that all year long. We had a little bit of a reprieve in the summertime, and then it came back around, and we're kind of in a little uptick right now. But again, day in, day out, guys and gals are getting on these fire engines and medic units and heading out the door. So, that says a lot for the leadership of the organization. It says a lot for the individual leadership of the station captains and lieutenants that are tasking their crews to go out and making sure that they are handling these calls professionally and giving the best care that any person can receive when they call 911. So again, huge hats off to them. As we move forward through 2021, it's a couple of incidents here and there. Really nothing that challenged our organization, at least in the battalion that I worked in. The guys and gals, again, they performed like they would normally do. And I have to say that when you have really good people that are working with you as a battalion chief running emergency incidents, I don't have to really embed objectives of what needs to be done when these people arrive on the scene of emergency incidents. It's like it's a choreographed, well-rehearsed play that is real life. They're arriving on the scene. They're giving their on-scene reports like they're supposed to. They're doing those 360s, getting a look at all sides, pushing back the information to the incident commander, and then they're moving forward with their tactics based on their initial size that they're moving forward with their tactics. That's what every incident commander should be striving from their people. How do you achieve that? How do you get that? Well, you have to set your expectations up in advance of what you want your members to do when they arrive on the scene of emergency incidents. Above all, it's life safety. It's the safety of the crew first and foremost, because if they get hurt, then we cannot help the people that have called 911. So we need to make sure that when they're running these calls, they are have safety in the front of their mind when they are engaging in any type of risky incidents. And all of our incidents inherit some form of risk. So again, when I arrive on the scene of let's just say a bread and butter house fire, If they have fire showing or smoke showing, it doesn't matter. By the time I arrive on the scene, I have already gotten a really good initial on-scene report. They've given a supplemental report, which means that they've actually gotten off the apparatus. They've done the 360. They're letting me know what's going on all four sides of the building, letting me know is there any smoke on the lowest level. So when I arrive on the scene, they're already engaged in their operation. Lines are being pulled. They've already put a supply line on the street, usually from a hydrant or some type of a water source. The next engine's already coming in and picking up that line. So I'm actually coming in knowing that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're following the policy and procedures. They've given me decent information. I can start writing my units down on my tactical worksheet. That allows me that buffer, that quick bubble to be able to start capturing the units that are responding on this call, because that's going to be my accountability. So I don't have to embed objectives. They're already doing their job, and that makes my job so much easier. All I have to do is call back real quick and get a quick update. Is there anything new that they want to add from the information that they already gave? And then I can go ahead and start putting a strategy together. Are we going to stay interior? Are we going to go exterior? And allow them to employ the tactics that they've practiced on. So as a battalion chief, I was a battalion chief for since 2012. Never really had to continually talk on the radio to run a fireground, because the men and women of my county are constantly training. They're constantly keeping up with the policies and procedures, because they owe it to themselves, they owe it to their crew, and they owe it to their family to make sure that they are operating safely on the fireground. So this whole year, all the incidents that I've run, nothing stands out as was a tricky situation or a hairy situation, because the men and women of my county are constantly training and being able to make decisions on the fly based on the information that they have. When we talk about making decisions, that's one of the things that I like to go out and talk to my people about when we talk about decision making, and it's truly an art form, because in our line of work, we're tasked to make decisions based on imperfect information. They're arriving on the scene, they may have smoke showing, they don't know where the fire is. So they're going to have to base their tactics on, have I seen this before? What does it look like to me? I've done my 360. What's the best guess of where I think this incident is happening? Where is this fire happening? And then I can start deploying resources there. I'm going to call it out on the radio. I'm going to make sure that everybody knows what the game plan is. So we are tasked with making life and death critical decisions with very little information. So I crave that information from my crews as they move forward. So I will call them on the radio and I'll ask them, give me an update. We use the acronym LCAN, which stands for Location, Conditions, Actions, and Needs. And to break that down, when I ask for an LCAN, the first thing they're going to do is who they are. They're going to tell me where they are, so make sure that it matches up with my tactical worksheet. If they're on the second floor, I need to make sure that they're calling that they're actually on the second floor. The conditions that they had, do I got smoke, do I got fire, do I got heat, an odor, or whatever. The actions that they're performing at that time, we're pulling a hand line, we're searching as we go. And then any needs that they need. Hey, they may need another engine company. They might need a backup line, maybe a truck company. Maybe they need the roof opened up, or maybe they need ladders that haven't gone up on the second floor on the Charlie side. So using that acronym, LCAN, allows me to confirm what I should already know on my tactical worksheet of where they are, and then I can go ahead and give them the resources they need to continue their operation. So being able to gain more information allows that fireground to run really smooth. And it also allows me not to have to talk on the radio so much. I do like a lot of face-to-face communication, but it allows me to not have to clog up the radio so much. So if we do actually have an emergency, that airwaves are open for our members to get the critical messages out so they're not missed. If you ever read any NIOSH reports or anything like that, where there's been a critical incident, whether it be a line of duty death or a significant injury, usually the things that come into play is command and communication, policies and procedures, and things like that. So my guys pride themselves on ensuring that they are only giving critical information on the radio, following the policies and procedures, being able to deviate off the policy and procedures if the incident isn't a policy driven incident, and knowing what that looks like. So again, and I would like to believe that this is happening all over the country. All firefighters, strive to be the best that they can be. So as a chief officer, it really allows me to concentrate on what's going on in front of me, what's going on my tactical worksheet, and then what's going on or where my next move might need to be, anticipating, do I need more manpower, or do we have enough what's on the scene? So again, working with really good people allows you the comfort and the freedom to actually command an incident with very little moves. So some of the other things that happened throughout the year, obviously, there was a lot of political unrest. We didn't see too much of that in my county. I know that Washington, D.C., which is just south of us, did, and all over the country. So that was some unique challenges for fire and rescue personnel. We did, I believe, send a couple of units down to D.C. I know some of our police officers went down there to stand by in case any of the protesting got out of hand. The same thing holds true around the rest of the country. We were fortunate that we didn't see anything like that. We did have some organized protests that were peaceful in our county, so we didn't really have to deal with a lot of that. That was thankful for that, because we could concentrate on the day-to-day operations, as well as what the upticks in COVID and things like that were. As some of you may know from listening to last month's podcast, I did put into retire. I started the process of getting a new position in Frederick County, Maryland, which is just north of the county that I work in. It was the Assistant Chief of Volunteer Services. There's a lot of really good people, career and volunteer people up there that I know. When the job was announced, I did apply for that back in July. I was officially offered the job at the end of October, and going through the process of filling out all the paperwork and everything. So I actually had to retire pretty quick. I did 34 years in Montgomery County. My official retirement date was December 1st, which was just a couple of days ago. So I tell everybody that I get to enjoy a total of 5 days of retirement before I go back to work. And I'm really excited about going to work in Frederick County, working for the county, working with the volunteers, as well as the career service. Like I said, there's some really good people up there. I've had the pleasure of knowing their fire chief, really down to earth, fireman's fireman type of person. My immediate supervisor is actually somebody that I worked with in Montgomery County. He retired from Montgomery County a few years back. So really looking forward to the new opportunity. I'm excited. I haven't been excited about my job, because it's something new in a long time. I mean, obviously, when the tones go off, there's a little bit of an excitement there, but it's going to take me out of my comfort zone, which is what I'm looking forward to. So I would definitely recommend that when you can get yourself out of your comfort zone, it really kind of hones in your leadership skills. And I have to put a big thank you out there to Frank Ritchie. I know we talked last month about his role in my interview process. Frank was definitely a bullseye with allowing me to actually do well on my interview. If you've never interviewed for a position before in the fire service, if you've spent your entire career like I did, 34 years in the same fire service, when you interview for a promotion, you're basically talking to somebody that you've probably known for a long time, and they know a lot about you. When I went to interview for the position, before I went to interview for the position in Frederick, it was, Frank was running me through some sample questions, and I didn't talk about myself at all. I'm not one that likes to talk about myself. I don't want to bore people. I take for granted that most of my friends that have known me for a long time already know about me. So being able to have the ability to talk about yourself and extract 34 years of career experience and then the years of volunteer experience and getting that out there, Frank was extremely instrumental in getting that out of me to be able to let the interviewers know who I was. We talked about recruitment and retention. That is a big issue in the fire service for volunteers. I currently volunteer in my hometown, so I know it's difficult to attract new members. And then once you attract them, you get them in, you vote them in on your company meeting, and then you've got to actually keep them interested in between while they're waiting for classes. So I know that recruitment and retention has long been an issue in the volunteer service, and I'm sure that we're going to bump up into some of that in my new position. And I think that I've got some working ideas in my head to help bolster the volunteer ranks. But I'm pretty stoked about it, and everybody keeps asking me, how does it feel to be retired? It just feels like I'm on a couple of days off, and then I go back to work on Monday. So, but that's kind of it in a nutshell. Reflecting back on a lot of the Side Alpha Leadership podcasts we had, I had a host of really good people that just can really pour out the information when it comes to leaderships in their arena, whether it be the military or business world, fire service, police. I urge you guys, go back, listen to these podcasts, because the information that my guests come on the show and they give is just it's phenomenal. You're getting this free information that normally some of these guys you would have to pay hundreds of dollars to go and to sit down and listen to them talk, and they're giving this an hour's worth of information for free. So I urge you guys, go back and listen to some of these podcasts. If not, go back and listen to all the podcasts. If you're a loyal listener, I truly appreciate that. Speaking of sitting down and listening to people talk, I was invited to come back to FDIC in Indianapolis with fire engineering. Going to be teaching my 4-hour it's a 4-hour hot pre-conference workshop. It is actually hands-on, even though it's in the classroom. It's called Command Under Fire, and basically we're going to talk about being an incident commander, whether you are the initial incident commander in the front seat of a fire engine or you're the actual incident commander in your chief's vehicle. We're going to talk about how you set yourself up for command, given that good on-scene report, given that supplemental report, being able to have accountability for your people. The first part of this program is about an hour and a half to 2-hour PowerPoint presentation, and then for the remainder of the time, we have what I like to call fire porn. So a whole bunch of pictures of just buildings and houses and things that are on fire. I'm going to give you a working portable radio. You're going to give your on-scene report. One of my co-instructors is going to be in the room. He's going to be acting as communications. He's going to be listening to your on-scene report and then giving you feedback. And we'll go around the room. I have about 30 or 40 different pictures, and everybody gets a radio in their hand. Everybody gets to give that initial on-scene report based on the information that you get in the PowerPoint and based on how you would do it in your home department. Once we go through all that, we talk about line officers' responsibilities as an incident commander, and then we talk about chief officers' responsibilities as an incident commander, and then we go into the actual running an incident. And I use a program called SimsUShare, which takes a picture that you take of a building or a house, and then I can go ahead and put smoke and fire and all kinds of things, time it. And as you arrive on the scene, you'll hear the other role players utilizing radios, giving layout instructions, giving on-scene reports, engaging in operations, and then I'll go ahead and turn the screen on, and then you as the chief officer will arrive on the scene. You'll give your on-scene report, you'll assume command, you'll have a tactical worksheet in front of you, and you'll go ahead and start commanding that incident using the radio, using the tactical worksheets, and communicating with the role players. It's been a huge success. I've done it a couple of times at FDIC. We've done it with Capital Fire Training up and down the East Coast. It's one of our more popular programs. It really hones in the skill of being an incident commander. If you're currently one, it gives you a little more reps of practicing. That's how incident commanders can practice, of actually having simulation programs. It also gives you, these officers, a peek of what it looks like to be an incident commander. So you may have somebody who's a lieutenant or a captain that's thinking about maybe taking the chief's test. What's it all about? What's it like to sit, quote, in the hot seat and be able to track units without actually having to put your hands on the tools to do the work? You're relying on somebody else to do the work and giving you that feedback. So I've gotten a lot of really good reports or returns back that they really enjoyed the class. It's something that we've done for several years now. So April of 2022 at FDIC on a Monday. I believe it's going to be an afternoon session, one of the late afternoon sessions on Monday. Command Under Fire. So I would urge you guys to sign up for it. Come on in and sit down in the hot seat and command some fires. And again, you get to talk on the radio. You get to interact with the role players. You are basically got this incident, or whether it's going to get better or if it's going to get potentially worse. So hope to see you there in 2022. So I'm going to wrap this podcast up. I know it's a short one. This is the end of the year. I'm excited about having some really good guests next year. I've already got a handful of them lined up already. Some returning, some new people. So in the meantime, be safe out there. If you ever have any questions, you can always contact me. My information's at the end of this podcast. So please go back, listen to the old shows. You can follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on Facebook. If you have any questions or you have any ideas for shows or anything like that, please don't hesitate to reach out. So again, I'm David Polikoff. Thanks again for listening. And what I like to tell people, that this is the largest, fastest growing leadership podcast that is recorded in my basement. Have a really safe rest of the year and see you again in 2022. If you like this show or any other show, please leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast listening platform you're listening to. You can look for us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. If you'd like to contact us, please don't hesitate to drop us a note at sidealphaleadership@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.